he was such like an alternative kind of
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
dark guy who somehow managed to be like one of the biggest mainstream filmmakers
Yeah, I
out
don't know
there
how
while
he managed to do that.
still keeping like a really big edge to his movies for a long time.
I think that like now you say that he maybe makes weird like strange decisions, but I think maybe he makes smart decisions because he does a lot of like he's done a lot of big studio tentpole movies, but I think he just does that so that he can go away and make the mad stuff that he wants to make, then just come back and go, yeah, sure, I'll come back and do you a Charlie and the Chocolate Factory or an Alice in Wonderland or something like or freaking Planet of the Apes, as long as I can go off and do like
Well,
the mad stuff I want to do.
see, I think you're right that that's kind of defined like the first part of his career, but I think at a certain point, I think he kind of lost it for what, what's the one for me and what's the one for them,
Yeah, yeah.
and what do I even want to do when I get my one for me's?
Yeah, I think he definitely lost his quality control. It became more questionable as it went on. Like I don't remember the last Tim Burton movie that's been like a solid hit for me. Like,
Well, I know for me because I was putting together my favorite Tim
oh,
Burton
you got the
movies
list.
as uh so I know kind of, and I was looking at his filmography today, and I know exactly where I can say like, okay, here's where I
It
think
fell
he
off a
fell
bit.
off a
Yeah,
cliff, but it was later than I thought it would be.
yeah, and I feel like there was some like real big like oh that's bad, and then he came back and did some like he's done a lot of like fine movies too, where it's like yeah that's definitely a decent Tim Burton movie, but it's nothing that I'm gonna be like raving about.
Yeah. So like, let me see if I can remember because I was looking at it today, and I thought like, if you look at his first eight movies, like,
Should I just pull up?
well, yeah,
Let me just pull it
maybe
up.
pull up the filmography and see if I'm getting in the order right. Like looking at his first eight movies, like people can kind of argue here or there about like the quality, but I think they're like an incredible set of eight movies in a row.
All right,
Um,
let's rattle them off right now here.
so starts with Pee Wee's Big Adventure, which I think is a
Yeah,
really strong
that one passed me
debut.
by. I feel like that's a very North American thing
Oh yeah,
because that did not
you
that
weren't
did
into
not
Pee Wee
travel.
Herman?
Pee Wee Herman did not travel across the pond. I'm
Okay.
here to tell you. I never even seen it. And then I watched it like this year with my kids, and I
Oh,
actually like quite enjoyed it.
well, just like it's just so visually creative,
Yeah,
and like
yeah,
that's really what Burton brings, is that even for a low budget movie like that, it
yeah,
just really pops.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
no one was really making a movie like that, and to think like he got, well, so Pee Wee's Big Adventure, then Beetlejuice,
Yep.
then
Which is crazy for a second movie.
for a second movie to be like that high of
That's a
quality.
big swing as well, man.
And
Like,
so yeah, Beetlejuice is my number five. I was doing a five ranking.
oh, look at you,
And
doing
then
the top five.
after Beetlejuice, some crazy person at Warner Brothers says this is the guy I want to direct Batman, which is like the most bonkers decision anyone has ever made.
It is pretty crazy. I mean, it kind of works because Batman is like super dark and gothic and whatnot, but
But
but it's a
but
huge swing to give a director like that Batman.
so but yeah, like Batman was traditionally dark and gothic like in the 30s when it started, but like by the 60s and onwards, like Batman was campy because of the Adam
True,
West show.
true. And like, let's not forget, like, I don't think. I mean, I know the TV show was popular, but I don't like Batman wasn't like a surefire hit or anything. It wasn't like, oh, this is going to be a nailed on hit for the studio. We need to get a big name director in to do it.
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, because like the only superhero movies was really the Superman movies,
Yeah.
and those had kind of already started to fall out of favor.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Um, so let me see.
I've got the list. I gotta see if you can hit
A-
them all.
after Batman, is it Batman Returns?
No, we did one in between that, and this is probably one of my favorites actually.
Okay.
It's Edward Scissorhands.
Edward Scissorhands. Yeah.
I
Like an
remember because what year did that come out? So that was 1990. So I would have been 6 years old when that came out. But I remember loving that movie when I was a kid.
it's great.
And looking back, I'm like, I don't know why I loved that when I was a kid because it's like
It's pretty dark,
pretty
but
weird. It's very weird and like there's a lot of like I think it's just because there's a lot of like subtext in it and like it's subtle in a lot of ways. Whereas you're a kid, just like he's got nice fingers. That's cool. He does topiary. But no,
he
yeah,
accidentally stabs people
yeah, he
sometimes.
nicks his own face sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and then Batman Returns
Yep.
for that. So
Uh,
that's my number 3. I think Batman's my number 4.
Are we counting movies that he didn't direct?
No, not counting Nightmare Before
Because
Christmas.
that would have been the next one. I was just after Batman Returns.
And like, yeah, I think he did like originate the concept and some of like
Yeah, I think
the main
he
artwork
wrote the story.
for that. Well, I think he was more like a story by.
Right. Yeah.
And from what I've heard, like he wasn't like really on set at all.
You just had the idea and was like, you guys take over.
Yeah. Now, like you can't credit him with the idea, and like I think he did some of the original artwork and stuff. So
Yeah,
obviously,
I mean,
still a
a
big
lot
creative
of the
driver
aesthetics
behind
is
it.
definitely, you can see his influence for sure.
Yeah. And then after that is Ed Wood,
Yeah.
right? Which is my favorite.
Well, this is my big admission is that I've never seen Ed Wood.
Ed Wood, I feel like is pretty underseen compared to his other stuff from this era.
But all I hear about it is that it's really really good. I think it's probably might be his best reviewed movie of all time.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, like it's a big favorite of mine.
I don't know why I've never gone back and watched.
Do you know what the plot of it is?
I don't know. I don't even have
So
a clue.
Ed Wood is like a hack director from the 50s.
Oh right, okay.
Who made Plan 9 from Outer Space, which
Okay.
a lot of people consider to be the worst movie ever made. And he got like a little bit of cachet. Well, not even cachet. Like he was able to sell some of his movies, even though they're so terrible, because he had like a personal relationship with Bela Lugosi, who was like in his autumn years. And the movie's just about like, you know, people who love movies but aren't good at making movies, trying to make movies. And
that sounds right up my alley. Actually, I don't know.
yeah,
if I've seen it.
I like this would completely be right up your alley.
Yeah. I'll add it on the list.
And it's just like I think that's probably my favorite Johnny Depp performance as well.
Oh, really? Interesting.
And like there's like Edward Scissorhands is really high up there too.
Yeah, that was a really great performance in that. That's like I say, a lot of subtlety in that movie and that performance.
Okay, so after
Edward, we'll get into
is it Mars Attacks?
It is.
Okay.
It is Mars Attacks.
So that's
which I'm interested to hear your opinion on what you think of Mars Attacks.
Well, I haven't seen it since I was a kid. As a kid, I thought it was hilarious and I loved it.
Yeah. I see. I'm the same. I kind of love Mars Attacks. I think it's just wacky, right? It's like it's pulpy and schlocky, and it's just little aliens running around going rah, rah, rah. Like I know a lot of people have quite a distaste for it.
So I think that one for a lot of people is the movie where they're like, well, maybe this is evidence that this guy
like he's selling out.
maybe selling out. Maybe that's a bit too mainstream or something. Or
jumped the shark with his alien movie.
Maybe some of his creative instincts aren't quite there.
Yeah. It's not. I mean, you can definitely see his influence, but you wouldn't necessarily right away be like, "This is definitely a Tim Burton movie."
All right, and then his next,
which all of his previous movies, you can definitely say like that is a Tim Burton movie. You can see it from a million miles away.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the sense of humor in that one is pretty broad, from what I remember. Like, I think the aliens' heads blow up because like an old lady plays boring music or something.
Yeah, exactly.
It's pretty stupid, but like it's fun.
No, they did steal that concept for A Quiet Place.
Well, and that's basically like the
similar thing happens in that, right? In the plane of sound that kills the aliens.
Yeah, that was dumb. But I think like that's basically like, you know, a riff off of War of the Worlds, where you know, the how do you kill the aliens is just the germs that are around.
Yeah. So what's after Mars Attacks?
Give me the year.
99. So just before Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, I know Planet of the Apes 2001.
Yeah. Which we'll get into.
And this would be the 8th one, right? So I was counting in my list of like really good stuff.
And this is one I really like, actually. This might be in my top 5.
All right, give it to me. I'm spacing right now.
Sleepy Hollow.
Sleepy Hollow, yeah. That's another really solid one.
I really enjoy that.
And like
that's another really good Johnny Depp performance.
His partnership with Depp here is just really cooking with gas. Like,
yeah.
They are really complimenting each other.
Was he Johnny Depp didn't have a. Was he in Mars Attacks at all? Because I feel like everyone was in Mars Attacks.
You know, it's been so long, I can't
I
really.
don't remember him being in it, but like thinking about it, it'd be odd that he wouldn't be in it because. Well, I mean, I guess he wasn't in any of the Batman movies either. But
Yeah, because he sort of like picks him up from Edward Scissorhands
yeah,
on.
and then comes back for Ed Wood.
Yeah, and then yeah. So by the time we get to Planet of the Apes,
Yeah.
now I said this on our episode
Yeah, we
on
did a Planet of the Apes episode, right? For what was it? What was the name of that one again?
Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Kingdom.
So check out that episode. Probably our best episode, I'd say. Definitely
yeah.
check that one out, guys.
You like apes?
I'm a huge Apes fan.
Apes.
I was a huge Apes fan going into this movie,
Yes,
and I like this movie at the
If
time.
you want to hear about how much Trevor likes the Apes movies, give that
Yeah.
episode a listen because he's a legit Apes fanatic.
I love those apes. Those crazy monkeys make me smile.
Chimpanzee to chimpanzee.
So
you like that then when you saw it?
I'd say I liked it at the time. I was a stupid kid,
But you see,
and I have not revisited it, and it has aged really poorly in my mind.
so question for you then: when you saw that Planet of the Apes, were you already a huge Apes fan
yeah,
at that point?
I was already a big Apes fan.
Because I remember like thinking it was fine. I remember quite enjoying it and like whatever. But I was not a huge Planet of the Apes fan at that point. I don't think I'd even seen the first one at that point.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like, oh, this is a travesty.
But you know, like when you're a kid and you're really into a franchise, you just want more
Yeah,
entries into
that's
that
fair.
franchise.
And
Like
it wasn't like, I mean, I know it gets a huge kick in, but I mean, it wasn't that brutal. I mean, looking back,
I actually really want to revisit it.
yeah, that's what I mean. I don't think I've seen it for decades, so I can't imagine it's as bad as what his reputation says. But I know people hate on the ending to that movie as well. But I'm like, well, what else are you wanting? Like, it's just a classic sci-fi ending.
Remind me, what is the ending to that one?
The ending is like he gets back in the spaceship and tries to get back to modern times, and he like crashes into like Washington DC and hits like the Washington Monument, and then he gets out of his pod and he sees like the Lincoln Memorial, but it's an ape Lincoln,
Okay.
which I've just realized it's probably a pun, right? Ape Lincoln.
Oh yeah, maybe, I don't know.
But-
yeah, that is kind of stupid.
So like he gets back to modern times, but
so they just build it back the exact same.
But no, because he's supposed to go back in time to his own time, but when he goes back in time to his own time, they're all apes. So it didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It didn't really make a lot of sense of what was going on. But I mean, it's just like, oh, something weird's happened and now everyone's apes. Like, there's nothing wrong with that, I didn't think. But yeah, it wasn't as good as seeing the Statue of Liberty, I suppose.
Yeah, spoilers for the 1968 movie.
Yeah.
The Apes.
It was there for all along.
And so yeah, for that one, for a lot of people is a sign that, you know,
Yeah.
this guy can miss pretty big.
And like that wasn't a very, from my memory at least, it wasn't a very Tim Burton-y kind of movie.
No, that's just like a regular blockbuster,
Yeah,
right?
it was just like anybody could have made that
'Cause
movie.
even like both the Batman movies, which I love, have a real edge to them.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And is the next movie after that Big Fish?
Yes, Big Fish.
That's the one where I say that's his last like
Good
Stone
movie.
Cold masterpiece. I love that movie.
I love Big Fish too. I remember watching that and just being blown away by it.
Yeah, like it's just like mastercraft storytelling, and it's like Tim Burton with a heart.
Yeah,
too,
exactly. Yeah,
which is a chord that he can play as well. Like it's not always just like completely dark edged. That movie gets me really choked up. It's really
I know.
good.
Yeah, I remember just like being pretty like really being affected by that movie.
Yeah, and from this point on, like there's still some good stuff, but
Yeah, should we
it's
rattle through 'em a bit?
some hit and miss. Like I know 2007 Sweeney Todd, which is pretty solid.
I quite like that. Yeah, I was gonna say that's probably the most recent one that I've enjoyed.
But like I think in between Big Fish and that, there's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory,
which honestly I have refused to watch. And when I was like, taking a quick look today, it's actually reviewed pretty well.
Really, that
I think
surprises
it's like
me a
Rotten
lot.
Tomatoes. I think it's like one of his highest rated movies.
Seriously,
But what I'm assuming is that like maybe there was a whole generation that like that's their Willy Wonka, right?
because from what I remember of it, and I've just seen it the one time, probably about a year after it came out, is that it's just like, what if Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, but it's Michael Jackson and it's
Right.
Neverland Ranch. for a whole movie.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I gathered. And honestly, the reason why I refused to watch it is because I love the Gene Wilder,
Yeah, it's the best.
and I love that movie so much. I watched it so many times when I was a kid, and I still love it to this day. And I was so happy when they tied Wonka, last year's Wonka, or was that this year or last year?
It was last December, I think.
Yeah, it was right on the cusp. When they
Yeah,
tied,
you love that movie.
I love Wonka, and I love that they tied it to the Gene Wilder one in like many ways. So yeah, I don't need this Charlie in the Chocolate Factory. I've got Wonka and Willy Wonka and Chocolate Factory.
Have your kids seen it?
Yeah, they've seen both. Yeah, they love both.
Like, have they seen the Johnny Depp one? I mean,
Oh, the Johnny Depp. I think they have, because my son, we watched. I put the Gene Wilder one for him. I was like, this is the best movie ever. And then my son went on a bit of a I love Willy Wonka binge for him. Like, he was dressed up as him and stuff and was giving out chocolate to people. And I'm pretty sure they watched it, and he might have watched it at school actually at one point as well. And they was just like, yeah, it's fine. It's just Willy Wonka. But I mean, they just think everything's fine.
Well, so how my daughter ended up watching Tim Burton's Dumbo.
Oh yeah,
was that she loves the cartoon Dumbo. I think I mentioned this on the podcast before.
Yeah.
And like after, on Disney Plus, after you watch any of like the classic animated movie, it's like, hey, do you want to watch this live action piece of garbage?
Yeah.
Also, and then she's like, yeah, we got to watch this, and so we watched it, and there is still some creative juice there, but it's a bad movie.
It's a weird one to do a live action version of, because it was a very thin story to begin with. Like the movie, well, they had to stretch it out to even make it a feature.
Yeah, like the plot of like the original movie Dumbo happens in this one in like 20 minutes.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
And then they have
pull the taffy on that bit.
Michael Keaton plays a good villain in that one. Like he is one of cinema's great villains.
He is.
But no, I don't really think that's a good movie. And yeah, maybe we can rattle off some of his other ones here.
Skipped ahead a bit, that one, because that was his last movie.
Yeah.
Before this one, so yeah, we missed out Corpse Bride. That fell in between Charlie Chocolate Factory and Sweeney Todd. Same year as Charlie Chocolate Factory, actually.
And that one's okay. It's really just him trying to. I feel like trying to just recapture Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah, because like Nightmare Before Christmas blew up and was like so popular. I think they were like, do more of that. It's like Frankenweenie's was a bit the same as that.
Yeah, you know what? Frankenweenie is a blind spot for me.
Yeah, I watched it recently because I thought my kid would like it, and it's fine. But like my kid got bored of it. I mean, it's a good concept. It's just a kid who rebuilt his dead dog like a Frankenstein.
And like he made that as a short film in the 80s, I think, right? And so he's kind of remaking his own thing.
He made it 2012, I guess it was. But yeah, it was fine, but like it's not like it was anything amazing.
And then what else we got here?
And then after that was Big Eyes, which I haven't seen.
Yeah, it's just okay.
Yeah. And then I guess we skipped over Alice in Wonderland. I missed a few here actually. Before Frankenweenie, after Sweeney Todd, there's the Alice in Wonderland and then Dark Shadows, which I think are the two worst.
That is the darkest period of his career. And he's had to course correct. Except that those are two bad movies.
Yeah, I've refused to watch Dark Shadows because I was just like, I think by that point after Alice in Wonderland, I was like, you know what? I think I need a breather from Tim Burton.
And I think that's my least favorite Johnny Depp performance.
Yeah, and I think that was the point where they were like, I think this
partnership is done.
You might have got like squeezed all the juice out of this now, guys. Maybe give it up. After like Charlie Chocolate Factory and that, it's like, nah, give it up. And then Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. I don't think I saw that one.
I've heard okay things about it. I haven't seen it myself.
And that was 2016 and Dumbo 2019, so he hasn't done anything for a while. Now we're
he's just directing episodes of Wednesday.
Yeah, I guess so, right? What else has he been up to? I don't know. Don't think he does much TV.
And so he's only 66 years old. I was looking up today, so he's still like fairly young-ish.
I feel like he must have been young when he.
Yeah, he was pretty young for getting a movie of that size. He's just been around forever.
Yeah, true. He's one of those guys you feel like he must be a million years old because he's been making movies for 50 years. Almost. No, but yeah, I mean, that's a decent list though. Like going through it, it's pretty high hit rate.
Yeah.
Really, for a career.
for a career, but the back half is pretty hit
Yeah,
and miss.
the back
Like
half is hit and miss.
for like a front half of the career, which is really one of the best. Like it's really really strong. Some big whiffs on there that make you question his creative choices.